Right. So again, just because I just started recording this, I think it would be fair to perhaps maybe post it later on YouTube for those that weren't able to join to also benefit from it, right? So like I said, this is my currency list, about 25 watch list, but every week I select the best ones that comes close to my confluences and I take trade decisions based on them, or I would say worthy of risking money on, right? So I had my eyes on Bitcoin, expecting a short. I have my eyes on GBP USD, also expecting a short, but it's been lingering around, so there's more time for us to. The same thing for Euro GBP, expecting a long. USD JPY, I'm supposed to be in this trade, but I missed a little bit of entry, so I'm still watching this. I may jump in if I have a right entry, or depending on how, and I don't want to get too much exposed in USDs, but I'll explain that in a minute. And then I have Euro USD here, which is the trade you guys are in, and then I have USD Swiss franc also here, which is the trade you guys are in as well, right? Now it's a very simple trade. I have been watching here, particularly if you watch where the red line is as a resistance area based off on previous price action, right? In that area, right? They know how I prioritize zones in the market, right? So key areas in the market for USD Swiss franc for me was for this week, this area, right? Which the market started again opening from here, right? I showed you guys where this market opened at, which is this particular place here, right? The market opened here and then started pushing, consolidated here, which is also part of like, you know, my key confluences for jumping in the trade, the psychological level. It got violated and then the market pushed a bit further up, tapping into that previous resistance area, which is right here. So I've been kind of waiting at this area for a long time, watching and waiting for the perfect moments that would be, you know, smooth to jump in on this trade. Nonetheless, right, the same thing with Euro USD, right? So when you come to Euro USD, I had to zoom out on my chart and see key areas of interest, and I realized that we have this kind of support area right here, right? So you see, it's very simple when you're trading the market, if you know exactly what you're doing, or if you understand certain key areas in the market. So I watched here, I knew that we were going to, you know, somewhat hold on this support area right here after this kind of a massive drop, and it's a huge, you know, downturn, right? Look at this on the big picture, drop, pull back, and then we just consolidate, and then a massive push back to these lows. Definitely require a little retracement, maybe a pullback, and then if in the future this market want to, you know, break this one, it can, you know, continue down. So if you realize, you could clearly tell from my take profit levels that I'm not trying to change the direction of the market, but I'm only catching a retracement, right? So you can see the take profit one is 1,800, right? So which is around here, right? Which is just around this area right here. And then the take profit two is what 1,900, right? So which is also just around here, right? So I'm just saying that what we could either pull back a little bit into this area, tap into a take profit one, and then continue down. But if we happen to have a lot more momentum on this market, then it can push further up into possibly this 1,900 before maybe pushing down or something like that, you know. So it is a retracement trade, right? A possible retracement trade. Nonetheless, it can also become a whole full new swing trade, right? That's why you don't always want to put a limitation on the market movement, right? That's why I always advise people, because like this thing that we're seeing that is a retracement move, it can just get here, break this level, continue here, pull back a little bit, and then rather, you know, start a new kind of an uptrend where this market can, you know, go wherever it wants to go to. The same thing for the USD Swiss franc trade as well, right? The same thing for the USD Swiss franc trade. Now, somebody asked me some time back that, KOJO, how do you trade the news? How do you analyze the market with the news, right? So about 30 minutes ago, right, if you watch here, we have USD Consumer Price Index, which is the CPI, right? It just got released a few minutes ago, right? This data right here. So if you know what CPI is, it also stands for inflation, right? More like an inflation rate. So you can see that we had what previous inflation numbers sitting at 0.9, and then now it's at 0.5%, right? Previous inflation started at what, 0.9, and then it's at 0.5. So basically inflation in the US has somewhat reduced, right? So, but that is as far as the consumer price data comes out. But if you look at the core one, right? So if you want more details about what this CPI is, you can just click the details here. It's going to explain exactly what CPI is, and then, you know, all those things that you need to know. Right now, the real inflation rate right here, which is the core one, is a negative one, 0.3, right? Which is lesser than what the market actually forecasted or expected, which is 0.4 here, right? So that's why you see it in red. It means that it came out negative, not really in favor of the USD. So it means that somewhat the US dollar is going to be, you know, very weak. So within some few minutes when this thing came out, if you are switched on a 15-minute, you're going to see exactly what happened, right? So you can see that I have been waiting in that zone on the 4-hour for a perfect confirmation. Nonetheless, the news comes out, and then the 15-minute just blast this thing all the way down, right? Just some few minutes ago. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say about an hour ago, because it's like 4 15-minute candles. We had this thing blast down, right? And then when it blasted down, which is the same thing that happened in the Euro USD, right? We had this thing also blast all the way up. Then we had what? A quick push on the downside, right? We had what? A quick push back on the downside. This is where the skill set is required. You see, we tapped here and then quickly reversed the whole move and then came back down here, right? Now that is as far as the details you can see on the 15-minute. But look at it on the 4-hour. If you look at it on the 4-hour, then coincidentally, when the news came not so long, and then we had this closure right here, right? So we had this closure right here for Euro USD. But if you come to USD Swiss franc as well, we have this closure right here, right? So for most people, they'll just jump in after the closure, or they'll just jump in when the market is going all the way down. So if you did that, then you're already in like this drawdown, expecting that the market is going to come back and continue in your favor, right? And then the same thing for the Euro USD as well. If you jumped in just because, you know, you saw that volatility moving and then you quickly bought here, you're going to be in drawdown, expecting that this market eventually come. But the skills lies in the trader who is able to spot that this volatile move will make a little bit of retracement before they jump in. So rather than jumping in here, that's why I asked you guys to buy here. So most of my entries is here, and then now this market just moved all the way back up. So if, and then market is obviously below the low. So if this market is supposed to be a sustainable one and they're supposed to make profit, you see the skill set that allowed me to jump in, and then we can possibly have this market going all the way up. It's the same thing for what we observed in the USD Swiss franc as well. That's why sometimes for anybody that may be on this live session and then the part of my VIP, you realize that rather than, you know, dropping the whole trade coordinates, I quickly say buy this or sell this. It's because I'm watching the volatility, and then missing it by a second can mean you jumping in here, you know, or missing it by, you know, a few minutes. Rather than jumping in here, you're going to rather jump in here. So I'd rather say, okay, sell this, and then maybe later I send the whole coordinate. So that's like a simple breakdown of this. Nonetheless, one last thing that I even almost forgot to chip in is that this thing is also in confluence with the DXY, right? So I tell you guys that what I never take any USD trade without looking at the DXY. Look at how coincidentally the dollar index is also sitting at this resistance area right here, right? So you remember, if you don't know what a dollar index is, don't worry. This evening, I plan on shooting a new YouTube video going into details exactly what the dollar index is, right? And then the kind of currency pairs you should watch in confluence with the dollar index. So we had this dollar index tapping here, pushed all the way down. Last week moved up, and then this week continued up to tap here, right? So this is what I've been waiting for. If you've been on my Instagram live, if you've been on any other social media platform that I've been talking about my trade setups, realize that my eyes has keenly been on the dollar index, expecting us to react on this resistance. So you see, the interesting thing is that, or the sad thing, or perhaps, you know, the takeaway here also is that as a trader, timing is everything. Imagine that I was sleeping, right? Because I'm home. I could easily be on my bed sleeping, or on my phone, or listening to music, or even playing game, right? It means that just by this violent push down here, I totally missed my kind of interested area of entry, right? And which is very important. Imagine that I'm supposed to like enter here and then, you know, manage risk properly here, and then this volatile push comes here, then it becomes, you know, quite discouraging to follow up on those kind of trade. Dollar index, I don't trade it, but I analyze it as if I'm about to take a trade, right? So based on that, then I use that as a cross reference to find trades in the pound, in the in most USD crosses, which is the USD Swiss franc, and then Euro USD, and then at the same time the pound USD. But the pound USD has not really been in a favorite zone, right, as I would expect it to be, even though it also got carried away by the momentum. But you realize that there isn't much of a price action here that tells us that we're going to push up. So I didn't really choose this, right? So that's why I gave you guys a trade call on Euro USD and then USD Swiss franc. So yeah, it can pretty much be a very fruitful trade setup. And yeah, that's just what the trade call is about. I hope you guys learned something, and then hopefully this recorded session will be uploaded on YouTube as well, right? So I'll see you guys maybe another time. Let me read some of your comments before I go though. Okay, not much said here. Anyway, I'll see you guys later then.